Thanksgiving is this week, and that means pies. Today's video, I have 5 different pie recipes. No, I'm not gonna be like, here's how to make a standard pumpkin pie. I'm not doing that. All 5 of these are a little something different to change it up this year and bring something special if you are taking dessert. Now, I like to shortcut things, make them a lot easier. That way, no matter what your cooking skill is, you can do all 5 of these right along with me. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm gonna be making all 5 of these in real time, so it's not gonna be like, here's the pumpkin, here's this one. I'm making them all right now. I was going to freeze them and save them for Thanksgiving this coming week, and then my mom and them were like, ooh, you're making pie? We'll come visit later. And my husband's parents, they're gonna come visit. I have a family of 7 as it is, so all 5 of these pies are gonna get cut in this video so you can see the cross section and everything. 2 of them do require the oven though. The first one is an apple pie, so we're gonna get started right there. First thing I'm gonna do is get my oven up to 425. That's gonna take a while. This thing is half broken. And wash your produce. I'm not gonna need this whole bag of apples, but I'm gonna wash them anyways. The apple pie recipe does say to use the Granny Smith. They are a bit more on the tart side. They are a sour apple, but with all of the sugar and the sweetness, plus these are a little more firm, so they will hold up to the pie a little better. If you make any of these recipes, one thing you are going to need to do, if it calls for Cool Whip, cream cheese, or butter, they need to come up to room temperature. So, well, not exactly room temperature, but like this is frozen. So you need it to be completely softened. This you need to soften as well as this. So I'm not gonna say completely up to room temperature, but you are going to need to set these out for a little bit before you can use them, because otherwise this will not mix up properly and this won't either, and this will be an absolute pain and a nightmare. So just take that little step. Take this and let it sit out for a little bit. In light of shortcutting everything and making your life easier, this is frozen pie dough. You could buy it over in any grocery store's refrigerated section. I get the deep dish just because it works so much better for almost every recipe I've ever tried. So it just makes a difference to get this one. But while you're doing all of the filling and mixing everything, this needs to come out and sit for a little while so it gets a little defrosted. So first step was to take that out. The recipe does call for peeling the apples. Now you can skip this step if you want to. It just adds a little extra texture and some nutrition, obviously. But for my kids, they will not eat the peel. So I'm gonna go ahead and peel all 7 of the apples. And from Rach or Ray years ago, the garbage bowl. To keep this easy for you guys, I'm just doing the first apple, but it wants it cut into very thin slices. So I'm gonna go around like that.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna take this little piece and I'm gonna go very, very thin all along each one of these. When I say thin, I do mean very thin, and then do all of it. If you have a mandolin, that will also make this a lot faster. I don't have one. 6 apples was already looking like a lot, so I put it in the pan right here, and it's really heaping, so I'm stopping at just 6 apples. Now it wants a full tablespoon of lemon juice, so I'm gonna see if that's half a lemon, whole lemon, I can't remember. That already looks like a lot right there at only half a lemon. Let me see. Yeah, you only need about half a lemon, and put that on your apples. Into the apple mixture, this is light brown sugar. It says lightly packed, but you know, 1/4 cup of that in there. Regular granulated sugar, it wants a 1/4 cup of that as well. All-purpose flour, it wants 3 tablespoons. Ground cinnamon, 1 teaspoon. I'm going a little heaping, but we really like cinnamon. This is just salt. It wants a 1/4 teaspoon. I'm not dirtying another measurement, so I'm gonna go with that. Pinch of ground nutmeg. I'm kind of going with just a tiny bit in my palm. Toss this around until everything is well combined and all the apples are fully coated. And the smell already coming off of this is outstanding. Foil lined cookie sheet. Put your dough on it. It should be nice and thawed out by now. And then it says to kind of layer the apples in. You could just dump them all in if you really want to, but as it bakes, they're gonna sink and you're gonna get divots all on the top of your pie. So if you're more meticulous about how you put this in here, your pie is gonna have a prettier top and less little gaps. All the apples, I've kind of like pushed them down in there just to make sure that they're like really set. But this is a Dutch apple pie, so now we have to make the topping. I just washed the same bowl I used for the apples, drying it off real quick for the topping. 1/2 cup of salted butter. This one is unsalted. That's what I keep on hand for baking season. Make sure it's soft, like I said earlier. And since it is unsalted, I'm just gonna put the tiniest little dash of salt in there with it. 1 cup of all-purpose flour, 1/2 cup of granulated sugar, and then 1/2 cup of brown sugar. Back to the cinnamon, 1 teaspoon of that. I like to do crumb toppings with a fork. And if you hear the noise over here, that's Gwen chewing on one of the apples. I gave up on the fork. I'm doing this with my fingers because the butter was soft, but not soft enough. So now I'm working it with my hands. I finally have it to the crumbly consistency. So now we have to put this on top of the pie. It does look like a lot, but when you're doing Dutch apple, this is one of like the main features. So you want this. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna put it directly on the pie and kind of like move it around all over the top. And it is going to be heaping. It is going to seem excessive, but I mean, come on, seriously, this is the best part about a Dutch apple pie. I need to go wash my hands and then we'll put this in the oven. Here's the apple. It's going in the oven, 425 for 15 minutes, and then take the temperature down to 350 for about 45 to 55 minutes. While the apple's baking, I'm going to move on to a few of the no-bake pies. The first one is my chocolate pie. I have made on this channel before, but that was before a lot of you new faces showed up, which by the way, welcome, I'm so happy you're here. But we're gonna digress back off of that. These little pre-made pie crust, you can get the graham cracker ones still all day long. Oreo, however, discontinued theirs, so you will have to make an Oreo crust from scratch, which is totally fine. 24 of these into a food processor or a blender with 5 tablespoons of melted butter. Push it into your pan and you're good. If it's a no-bake recipe, no bake, just put it in your fridge till you need it. Or if you have a bake, then this has to go in the oven at 350 for just 10 minutes and then continue on with your pie. I will put the recipe that I use for my Oreo cookie crust things in the description box down below, but I just didn't want you guys to have to go through the process of making one. I might not be able to get my pre-done pie crust, but I will use these throwaway pie tins when I'm making pies that are gonna go anywhere else but my own home, so that way they could just keep the leftovers and everything. All of my non-baked pies are going in here. And I do have the chopped up Oreo inside my blender and then my melted butter. I will let the blender do all of the work for me. I don't do any of this by hand. It's not pretty and there's some spots that are missing, but put this in the fridge for like 10 minutes while you mix up the pie. The apple pie timer just went off, so I'm going to turn it down to 350 and it says for 45 to 55, so I'm gonna try 45 first and see from there. For the chocolate pie, I'm breaking out the stand mixer, just makes life a lot easier. And the first thing you need is heavy whipping cream. 3 cups of that are gonna go into the stand mixer. So there's 2. Oh, you wanna pour it in?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. And that's 3 cups. And get all this extra out of here, don't waste that. Into the heavy cream, the 3.9 ounce box, you're gonna need 2 of these in there. In there, don't drop the packet though. Get it all out. Brianna said she wants to do this one. Let Brianna help too. Here you go, Brianna. Make sure you get it all out into there. Now you're just gonna use your paddle attachment, put this on and give it like all of a minute or 2 until it thickens up. Like I said, a minute or 2 and it is this crazy thick. But the next thing you're gonna do is an 8 ounce Cool Whip the whole thing into there. Just put it in the back like that. And then once she gets the whole thing in there, we're gonna mix this on low just to incorporate it. It doesn't mix really, really well. There's a bunch on the side. So come in here and scoop it all down. Oh, and try not to make a huge mess, even worse. And mix it in a little bit by hand. Get it off the sides and then let it go for just a little bit longer. This is the color and consistency that you're looking for. Just make sure it's all mixed in and get as much of it off of the beater and the bowl as you can. You do not want to mess up your pie crust. So what you're gonna do is you're going to put it in there, but don't actually like try and scoop back and forth because you will lift every bit of that up. But scoop it all into the crust, and once you get into the crust, kind of push it down and let it do its job instead of you trying to like move around too much, because you will break your crust. Take the extra part and you're kind of gonna mound it up in the middle. This is supposed to be more of like a domed pie. And before you serve this, there will also be a whipped cream layer on top. It's a very, very tall pie. If you've ever had pudding, you know how it gets that really gross, nasty skin on the top? We're going to avoid that. Plastic wrap.
I'm magical. This is magical. Why did I never think of this?
Put it over the top. Get a little extra so it'll go around the bottom of the pan. Yes, my plastic wrap is broken. This thing just popped off. I'm doing the best I can. Sealed up on the sides. And put this in the fridge for a good 3 to 4 hours, even overnight. Cleaned up after the first two. That still got about another 25 minutes, so I think I'm gonna move on to the third pie. When I saw this other recipe the first time on Pinterest, I was like, maybe not. And then I saw another YouTube girl make it and it looked so good. This one might not be everyone's cup of tea, and it may be more for your Christmas celebration, but it is an eggnog pie. The eggnog one is very much dump and go. It all just gets in there, mixed together, and then into the pie shell, refrigerate, and you're done. Is the eggnog. We need 1.25 cups of that. Okay, Gwen, you wanna pour that in? Try not to spill it. Get all of it out. 1/3 cup of whole milk. I don't have whole milk, I've got 2%, and we're gonna roll with what we have. Okay, Gwen, put that in. 2 packs of the vanilla instant pudding.
I was going to do that.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Oh, thank you. Nutmeg, 1/2 teaspoon of the nutmeg. Want to put that in? Paddle attachment. Mix this for 2 minutes. Little dance party, but 8-ounce container of Cool Whip in there. And then mix this just until combined. You can see it's not the color of Cool Whip anymore, and you can see all the little nutmeg specks. So it does look like eggnog. Hold on. Ooh. And it does actually really taste like eggnog. You do want to mix it up because you can see right there where the eggnog is not fully mixed. Ignore Mako. Graham cracker crust. And yes, they do come with their own lid. Just turn it around and put it back on. My mom literally just got here, asked what kind this is. I said eggnog, and you should have seen the look on her face. I don't know why everybody's so hit or miss. You either love it or you hate it. But go ahead and put this into the pie pan. Smooth out the pie, and then just put the lid on and refrigerate for like 2 to 3 hours, and this is done. We are already halfway through 3 pies, and we have the one about to come out in 9 minutes, and then 1 no bake and 1 bake to go. Couple things. This right here was 45 minutes, and you could see that it's bubbling away. I stabbed it in a few spots to make sure the apples weren't too like hard or crunchy. They're not, they're completely done. And definitely put it on a pan. Don't skip that step because every bit of that sugary grossness would be on the bottom of your oven to clean up. We had to take a short intermission because my mom called. She wanted to come over and make traditional Italian cookies with my children. So we just did that for like 2.5 hours, and now I get to make the final 2 pies. Those Italian cookies are a staple in my dad's side of the family. My grandmother, I've been making them with her since I was a kid, and now my mom makes them with her grandkids. It's just a family tradition every single Christmas. But for some reason, she's like, hey, I'm gonna come over and make Italian cookies. So we stopped the pies for just a little short intermission. This is the apple pie. It is completely cooled, and then you could put it in the fridge or serve it up while it's still warm, but it is gonna goo out. I'm gonna store this in the fridge for later. It did crack all the way around. It really doesn't matter. I'm not looking for presentation. This is one of the pies I'm only in for the flavor. Let's move on to the pumpkin cheesecake pie because this one will be going in the oven, and while this is in the oven, we'll work on the peanut butter pie. I gave my oven a little break to cool back down from all of the cookies and the higher temperature pies because this one goes in at 325. Back over to the trusty stand mixer again today, and 2 blocks of cream cheese that have been softened, put them in. Softened cream cheese sticks to the package a little bit more, so just when you put them in there, make sure you get as much off of the package as you can. What I'm doing is just taking the little spatula and scraping it across the package, and that's how I'm getting the extra. So you can see what I'm doing. Just hold it down with one hand, scrape with the other. It's that easy, and then it all comes off, and look how much you would have been wasting. 1/2 cup of granulated sugar, 1 teaspoon of pure vanilla. If you didn't know, the cap is actually 1 teaspoon all the way to the top. Then you're going to mix this until it's all well combined. Scrape all of this down. Scrape down the sides of the bowl, because So you make sure you're getting everything mixed up real well. And then 2 eggs, but you're going to beat them in separately. So put one in, just crack one in. Mix this all around and then put the second egg. Egg number 2, and go one in and go again. Here is another one of those pre-done graham cracker shells. If you've never opened this before, you just take all the foil and pull it back. Ooh, and this one's like really cracked, really bad. So I'm hoping when this goes in the oven, that repairs itself, but it is super cracked. Take 1 1/3 cups of the cheesecake mixture and spread it in the bottom of this pan. Spread this out into the bottom layer. And then it says to set this aside. Into the stand mixer where the remaining cheesecake batter is, you need 1/2 cup of the pure pumpkin. Make sure it's not the pumpkin pie mix. It is the 100% pure pumpkin. You need 1/2 cup of that. Just throw it right into the stand mixer. I did not know my pumpkin pie spice was that low, but now we need pumpkin pie spice, 2 teaspoons of this. So there's 1, there's 2. And then mix this until very well combined and the spices are completely distributed. Now that the pumpkin part is mixed all together, what you're going to do is gently put it on top of the white plain layer. You don't want to just like plop it on there. You want to place it so that way they stay 2 separate layers when you cut into this, and not like a big old dome of the pumpkin right in the middle and it pushes all the white part out. And just like gently spread it around. Close off any of the white. If you could see that layer, close it off. This goes 325, it says 35 to 40 minutes, or until a knife inserted comes out clean. I'm gonna check it at 35. Oreo pie crust number 2. I ran out of the white Oreos, so I had to bring out some of the Christmas ones. I have the bright red icing in there. So there's a few tiny little specks of red coming through. I mean, it's festive. To the peanut butter pie, softened block of cream cheese in the stand mixer. And remember to scrape the package. 1 cup of peanut butter. This is our absolute favorite brand. I am curious, what is your favorite peanut butter brand? Do you make your own? Is there a store-bought one you prefer? I always love little debates like that, but Jif is ours, 1 cup. I don't really get the big jar at Sam's. I got the smaller one just for baking, because you know how the knives and they put little crumbs in there from the bread and things, and my kids are gross, so I got one specifically for baking, but now I'm gonna put the whole cup in here with the cream cheese. Put the paddle back on, and then mix this until smooth. This is why we say scrape down the sides. You can see that they're completely not mixed. Once you get down toward the bottom, like, look at that, right here. This is why we say scrape. I always make such a huge mess when I'm dealing with powdered sugar, and my container ran out, so I had to open the new bag. But next step, 1 1/4 cups of powdered sugar. Throw it in there. Mess to clean before I'm willing to move on. Powdered sugar in there. And luckily my trash can is right down here, so don't panic. I did not just throw that on the floor. All right, now we can continue. I'm human, humans make boo-boos. I can't continue the peanut butter pie just yet, and I'll show you why. I am trying to do a very quick thaw on another thing of Cool Whip because I miscounted how many I needed for today. Luckily, I have this one. I was going to use it for Thursday for Thanksgiving, but now I'm trying to do a quick thaw because it is frozen solid as a rock. Let's check the pumpkin pie. Okay, first thing, if it's got any jiggle, okay, there's no real jiggle. Take a knife, right in the middle. See how that's still really gooey and really messy? That needs to go longer. At least 5 minutes, possibly longer. Gonna pick a different spot, but still close to the middle. Okay, looks better, but still not good. So I'm actually gonna go a full another 5. Maybe 3rd time's the charm, who knows? Because it's starting to lift off the crust right here. So I think no matter what, it's about to have to be done. Yeah, see, now it's done. Don't let it cool on the pan though. Carefully move it to a cooling rack because otherwise the bottom is still sitting on that very hot pan and it will continue to cook. So make sure you're cooling it on a rack. I'm tired of waiting. I even stuck my finger in the middle of it to see if it was thawed out yet. And it almost is, but not quite. But put the whole thing in there with the peanut butter, cream cheese, all that mixture. And mix it up. It mixed up just fine. There's nothing wrong with using it. It just takes a little bit of extra time to get it to distribute evenly. But scrape down the sides one more time. Make sure you get from the bottom. Because see how the color is completely different in there? It's a lot darker at the bottom. And then mix it up one more really good time. And there is the consistency that it's going to be. And it is safe to eat. It's a no bake, so you're good at this point to test it. I took this out of the fridge. Now we're gonna put this in here carefully like before. We're gonna dollop it all around the crust and then smooth it out. Once you get it all smoothed out, just put a lid on. These pans came with these lids. Okay. Chill in the refrigerator for a couple hours and this one's done. All 5 pies are done. I'm going to let the cheesecake one that's back here, I'm going to let it cool for the full hour. Stick that in the fridge for at least an hour just to make sure it's nice and cool. And then I will come back and see you guys with all 5 pies to cut them. Fast forward, it is after dinner time. I'm about to cut all the pies, but for the chocolate pie, I have to make the whipped cream. This has been in the freezer as well as this for a few minutes, and that just helps to make it set a little faster. This is the rest of that 32-ounce heavy cream. It's 1 cup going in, and then a 1/4 cup of powdered sugar. 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Whisk this until stiff peaks. I'll show you what that means. This is what I mean when I say stiff peaks. This might actually be a little too far, but you're just making homemade whipped cream. You're gonna put this on top and work it around, just a thin layer right over the top. Traditional chocolate pies have some kind of chocolate curl for garnish. All that means, this is just a little regular Hershey bar. Take one of these vegetable peelers and you could peel off the chocolate and it comes off in little curls. And that's all those are, is just little curls off of a chocolate bar. If you don't want to do this, you could put mini chocolate chips, you could put a chocolate drizzle, you can leave it plain, whatever you really want to do. This just looks a little fancy. And there's what the cute little curls look like on the top of that one. Over here to the pumpkin cheesecake, it does have this stuff right here, and you just make pretty little things like this on where you think you're gonna cut slices, and then you do it all the way around. Going around, this is the eggnog pie. That is the peanut butter pie, the chocolate pie, Dutch apple, and this is the pumpkin cheesecake. I'm going to cut them so you can see them inside. Now what I'm saying though, traditionally we would not be doing all of this right now. I would put a few of these away in the freezer or the fridge for Thanksgiving, but what we're going to do is leave half of each one of these pies here for my kids and us for the next couple days, and then I'm splitting the other halves of these pies between my in-laws and my parents. So none of this is going to waste. This is what the eggnog one looks like when it's cut, and it does come out really thick and beautiful. This one is delicious. I haven't bit this one yet, but this is the pumpkin cheesecake, and it came out so pretty with its layers. Okay, I'm gonna try this real fast. Connor's stealing away over there. This, you get both flavors equally, which is really weird. You get hit with the cheesecake, but you get hit with pumpkin pie. It's so weird, but in a really good way. Peanut butter pie, I already bit it. This is so, so good. Like, it's really a lot more peanut butter taste than I thought I was going to get with the cream cheese and stuff in there. Still really good. On to the apple. It is very, very thick in there and layered. It was almost hard to cut through this top, but it's also been in the refrigerator. So if this was reheated and served warm, you wouldn't have that issue, but we're gonna bite this and see how this one is. Last pie, like I told you, this chocolate one is really, really thick, but it is delicious. I already know because I've made this before like 3 or 4 times. It's one of my dad's favorites. Amazing. This is just how my family is ranking them, and I will explain all. This is the peanut butter pie. My husband wants to eat the entire thing right now all by himself, and all the kids love chocolate peanut butter combo, including an Oreo crust. So that won. Now, 2 of the kids were saying these were tied for first place with the chocolate pie, but then others were saying these 2 were tied for second place, the chocolate to the apple. Over here, they all ranked this one a little further because they figured why not just have normal pumpkin pie. I still think this is really good. This is definitely an acquired taste. I love eggnog, Brianna loves eggnog, Tristan likes eggnog. We all put this one a little higher up, but Connor does not like eggnog. He thinks it's disgusting. Aiden doesn't like eggnog. He thinks it's disgusting. So this one is definitely an acquired taste. This is where I'm going to end the video. Those 5 were absolutely delicious and something different as opposed to just here's your standard pumpkin pie or your standard apple pie. Something a little special for you to try for the holiday season. If you do try any of them, just let me know down below what your thoughts were on them. That eggnog pie is delicious. I'm ignoring my family because I do like eggnog. And if you do, definitely try that one. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and I will see you in my next video. I hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys.